I think this one skill, like how quickly you can get value out of new tools and how quickly do you spot that a tool would make a substantial improvement to things that you were improving on, is like the unacknowledged meta skill of all the most successful people on planet Earth. I think it's really that. Like it just, once you look for it, it's really stunning. Like it's you really do not hear stories of extremely successful people who are like absolutely set in their ways.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because running the business is hard, and waking up every day and getting to work when you're all by yourself is hard. And the thing that saved me, that continues to inspire me, motivate me, give me hope, inspiration, ideas, is looking at the stories of people who've done a lot more than me. And I learn strategies, I get motivation, and it gets me to believe in myself to go off and attack the day. And so I hope this video inspires you to do the same as well. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tobias Lutke, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is follow your curiosity.
When you think about focus and deciding what you choose to learn, how do you determine what you should choose to learn versus bluntly, maybe interesting, but a distraction?
There's a thing called product market fit. I actually think a more sometimes important thing in this context is actually founder market fit. But there's actually, I think you can play this game at more layers. Probably have something weird like curiosity / times fit. I am interested in literally everything that can add value. Like it's a very bizarre thing. I don't need to think about it's actually when I get interested in something, I know there's value hidden in it. Like I've basically never not brought lessons back from something. And so I trust I follow my curiosity. I think that's a term you hear. I think it's used mostly, like the people who use it from first principles are the people who have something which I think maybe luck gives them, which is that their curiosity itself ends up being the product of a probably fairly hard, intrinsic ability to spot value around corners, which is hard to put into words.
Rule number 3 is know your mission.
You provide entrepreneurs tools to start selling online immediately, from shipping to social media to even some warehousing. What is the main mission of the company? Because you do so many things, boil it down for us.
The mission of the company is to try to make entrepreneurship more approachable, common, and easy. It just seemed very obvious to me that in the future, most businesses would be digital by default, and then would start on the internet and then go from there. So now, 15 years later, Shopify has succeeded past my wildest dreams, to be frank. But the core of the mission is still the same. We really celebrate the corner stores, the pet stores, the basement fashion labels. About once every 60 seconds, someone gets their first sale on Shopify. And that's to us is the most important metric we track, and how we judge our own impact.
Rule number 4 is set constraints.
What did you learn about building great teams from being in a band and learning music again?
I learned a lot of lessons about leadership because, this is most pronounced in jazz, somewhat in blues as well. There's a basic contract. It's like real artists will always talk about the tyranny of a blank canvas, right? Like this is actually not what leads to creativity. Creativity always comes from constraints. Constraining the space is not just like. I've been in many meetings where people say, I wish we could do this thing where we'd be completely unconstrained by budgetary or time. And I'm like, yeah, but that's hallucination. That's not, that's not craftsmanship. That's not engineering. I think the older crafts have this totally figured out. Like in blues, you would you would set a meter, like you would set a tempo. You would presumably set a beat and you would set a key. And then afterwards, people improvise over that. Different people might do a solo, different people, you're creating a new piece of music with every note. Like it's deeply creative, but the creativity comes out of the constraints that were set. And then if you really know what you're doing, and this is where it gets really fun, you get to violate some of those constraints. Like you can do a key change. You can go from minor to major. And if everyone's good at what they're doing, they'll follow. And or create some dissonance on in the scale, which actually leads, if you resolve it right, it leads to interesting things. This is, I think, what the best teams do everywhere. They are greedy for constraints. They want to understand how can we restrict our space so that we get to get started, develop something, feel each other out, have develop an appreciation for each other's aptitudes and skills, right? Like it's a different piece of music depending on who shows up to your band.
Can I ask, when you think about constraints in this way, is it purely financial constraints, or are there other types of constraints?
No. It's if you let's take an engineering project. Time is one of the best constraints. Time boxing. Like in Shopify, every project goes through multiple phases. There's a prototype phase. There's a proposal phase. Before that, if proposal is accepted, you go to prototype phase, build, and then releasing. The prototype phase is ideally time constrained and people constrained. You can only do it with 3 people, and you've got a maximum of, it's 6 weeks. It should actually be less. Like it's sort of meandered upwards. In fact, it should probably be a week. And then next week, you should start from scratch to try something else and do this multiple times. That is like some of the best code I ever wrote. I wrote with the first engineer we hired, Cody, who was the CTO of a company at the time. We did this in pair programming. And we set ourselves constraints like every single day we have to throw away all source code other than the unit tests. And we would ship the feature the day we could implement the entire feature in that day. And you really, 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 really get good code if you do that.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is ask for feedback.
Feedback is a gift. It's such a simple sentence, but really is not the way most people think about feedback, right?
Feedback is a gift.
Feedback is a gift. Because it is. It clearly is. It's not meant to hurt. It's meant to move things forward, right? Like to demystify something for you. I want frank feedback from everyone, and I get it. Although, funny enough, I don't know if you know, like you might have a thought about this. I tend to get it from the Germans at Shopify more frequently than everyone else. So there might be a cultural component in here too. So this, like, did you call it crusher of egos or get your ego crushed? That sounds so dramatic.
Yes, be prepared to be crushed. If you can't be crushed, you don't make it on the executive team.
Yeah.
Learn how not to feel crushed.
Yes. So I mean, this is the executive team, which is directly my team of the people who I have the highest requirements of, and we have worked together for the longest. So I don't think it's like this or everywhere in Shopify.
Rule number 6 is innovate.
Facebook came out with a survey that said 1/3 of small businesses have basically shut down. 11% of them expect to fail if conditions persist. What are you seeing?
I mean, in many cases, it's a crushing and testing and trying experience for many. We do see good news. I mean, like for instance, I've been buying dairy and cheese and everything from a local farmer through a Shopify store, which they set up as part of this. This has been there's been incredible community organization to get the favorite local businesses online. There's been such an incredible pickup of curbside pickup and local delivery and all these kind of things. So there are lots of good news, but retail sales have fallen off a cliff in the early days of shelter in place, of course. The adaptable businesses have quickly replaced actually a good deal of his lost sales through online channels and through other channels. So the demand of the buyers is actually still around, and we see across the system that 94% of lost sales have actually been replaced by people just going online. And some data doesn't really capture this enormous change of trend.
What's the sort of operating normal right now?
The operating normal is like, again, retail sales are maybe just ticking up in some places, but like basically 70%, 80% of it was gone. The online stores online shopping has increased. The category of online shopping that has increased by far the most is sales which are within 25 kilometers of where the products are. This sort of local e-commerce is something that across the platform we haven't seen a lot before. Entrepreneurs are adaptable people. They are the people who get the most out of what they've got. And so there's been a lot of amazing entrepreneurial activity.
Rule number 7 is be optimistic.
Why do you think this is one of the most interesting times? We have like deglobalization like never before, income inequality like never before, worse healthcare systems like never before, climate change like never before. I'm looking at the world quite scared, if I'm totally honest, Toby.
Yeah, but I think this is, I think because this is the overlay narrative of the media. Again, if you go at this from truth, I'm quite concerned about climate change, but I'm also 100% we know how to solve it. It's a technology problem. Wealth inequality is this is the most wealthy society's ever been. You can't compare the existence of any king to your baseline experience of anyone in a Western society. It just you don't even need to go to incredible potential for healthcare and all these kind of things. No one until very recently had ever had a warm shower. These are unbelievable luxuries we have. We just have a built-in hedonistic treadmill which makes us forget about it all. If you don't have to take my word for it, you go for something like Steven Pinker's book Path to Enlightenment, or I think, and it just drops every single stat you have seen quoted as going worse and shows you it actually getting better. I'm extremely optimistic. This is there is a effect in the world which is which kind of sucks, but it's going to be temporary. And it's where I'm doing fine, but everyone else is effect. Yeah. And it's actually being measured in all societies. And it's the US isn't even the worst, but I don't have the numbers on top of my fingertips, but I think to remember, and if it's not true in the US at this level, it's worse in South Korea and other places. But it's 80 to 90% of people will say, I'm doing fine, but everyone else is doing really, really poorly or around me. So 90% of people say it's fine, and they think a vast majority of people are not. And everyone thinks this because we are actually, there's real problems in the world, absolutely. And wealth inequality is the thing that could be even better. People want things to change, and there are real problems in the world, and people want to see things improve, which is really, really important for society. People will vote for how they think things can be improved. We have disagreements, but even the largest disagreements, like Brexit, Trump, yes, there are disagreements, even in the goals, but they are very minor. Everyone agrees that hey, we want to live in voting is a good thing. Everyone who votes thinks voting is presumably a good thing. The sort of system of democracy that we have and enlightened self-interest harnessed towards the greater good. At least those components of capitalism are important and have demonstrably been superior to everything else we've attempted before.
Rule number 8 is learn to optimize.
I also have a weird obsession with optimizing things. This is supposedly a quote of yours. Even when I was walking to elementary school, I counted the number of steps on different routes so I could figure out which one was shortest. And I'll just finish this up. So ... I'll just connect some things. If I had to do something once, that's fine. If I had to do it twice, I'm kind of annoyed. And if I had to do it 3 times, I'm going to try to automate it. Did you count steps?
I did. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It's one of those situations, where I think I was together with my mom, my
sister, and my sister was complaining about me trying to optimize something. I think we were talking about going for a walk, and I'm like, well, if a place we're starting from is the same as a destination, why don't we just not go? And my mom immediately said, you realize you did this from when you were like 4 or something, and told me the story, and it kind of sort of, unfortunately, probably tells people way too much about me. So I don't know why this made it into the New York Times. I'm actually kind of unhappy about this right now, but here we are.
And here we are. And the optimization or the looking for efficiency, is that something that either of your parents has, or did that seem to kind of come out of left field?
I don't know. It's probably one of those unexplained kind of quirks, which after probably many, many years where it's annoying everyone around me, suddenly starts becoming useful, right? Like after, because, especially as a programmer, it's been wonderful, right? It's, I love these old machines where, can understand every chip that's in the machine. You can kind of figure out what's what. Try to make a video game in the 90s was really, really hard. And so those were kind of things which really, really attracted me.
Rule number 9 is plan less, do more.
The first thing I did when we started, and it's sort of a gravity of the whole situation became a little bit more clear, and we decided to, work remotely because the offices were, it wasn't a prudent thing to do. I asked the company to delete all plans because I think it is important.
So hang on, you asked the company to delete all of your plans.
I asked to I'm a big fan, this is obviously not an original, but I'm a big fan of planning. I don't think plans end up being as useful as people make them out to be. I think the worst thing you can do is try to adhere to a plan to create stability. And you can't, you shouldn't act the plan. You should, at the very least, you should rederive the plan. So what I asked everyone to say is take all the planning, all the preparation work that we've done in our annual planning, and just rederive this against the changed variables. Let's come up, let's figure out, let's look deep in our roadmap and look at everything that might be helpful.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is have a growth mindset.
We get to people very early in their career, and because the thing that we want to accomplish, and this is really the goal of all of the internal programs, is we want to take people find out what kind of areas they have a fixed mindset on, and try to get people to acquire a growth mindset, right? Just think of their intelligence as something that can be trained. Think of their skill as a programmer not as something static. And when someone comes and tells you that there's something you could have done better, that's not someone finding out that you're not as good as you thought. That's actually a teacher appearing, right? And once people acquire this growth mindset on at least a number of different traits, usually they arrive to, they make it very, very far, and they can have these 10 years of a career in 1 year on the wall clock. And it's a wonderful kind of thing when it happens.
I like losing. And in micro, I like the micro loss.
Yeah.
I love
it's
micro
the fear of... the thrill of skin in the game, right? The fact that there is something to avoid and something to motivate things forward, right? I think entrepreneurship is one of the most pure forms of self-expression. Every good and successful company is really putting something new into the world one way or another, right? And it almost universally represents in a very accurate way the values of the people who started it. And I think to me, it's such an institution. It's so important, and it's actually, as you will know, it's actually not a healthy segment, right? It's been trending downwards. The baby boomers were the most entrepreneurial generation post-war, and Gen X next, and then millennials. We are seeing an uptick now again, and there might be good reasons for why this was the case. Potentially largely around friction. But I think that's something we need to study entrepreneurship independently of these numbers, because in most countries, actually in all countries, it's more than 50% of people are employed by small and medium businesses, not by a few mega companies. And it's a super important ingredient of the economy of every country. Yet there's a lot of laws that introduce friction into the process of creating business.
Because you made it this far in the video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Jeff Bezos, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Do something you're very passionate about, and don't try to chase what is kind of the hot passion of the day. I think we saw it in the internet world quite a bit, where